This is June 2024. Witchcraft, Wandering, and Warnings. At the very start of June, the restraining order was served. One afternoon, the harassment stopped dead. Like, all the texts, all the calls, the whole stalk energy just cut off. And that's how I knew he got served. Okay? And for a second, I almost missed it. Like, I don't know why. I was like, because, like, imagine, like, for 2 to 3 weeks straight, you're just having these calls, you have these text messages, you have this, your phone just blowing up all day, all night, and then it stops. Like, for some reason, I missed it. But the chasing, the constant pull, I didn't need it. I didn't need it. Because I knew letting him go was right. The fear I felt wasn't the fear of the Lord. It was the devil trying to keep me trapped. And the man wanted to harm me. And I thank God that I didn't go back when he asked me to. Because I'm telling you, if I went back, it would have been bad for me. But here's the thing. Just because the papers were served didn't mean the war was over. I didn't suddenly become holy. I threw that man away and went right to another boy. Another narcissist. He played in my face with other girls at the shelter. And it was just humiliating. It was another attack from the enemy, twisting how I saw myself and convincing me that, I was as disposable as those dudes were. I even bragged about the restraining order like it was a trophy, telling everybody my business. That wasn't wisdom, that was pride. On the surface, I act like I had it together, a car, a better clothes than some people, a resume with a new title, key holder, because I had got a new job as a key holder. The pay wasn't even good, but the pride it gave me, I looked down on the staff, on the peers. I was like, how can you tell me anything how can you tell me anything when I have a car and you don't? Because I was looking at these adults that were trying to tell us, like, at this point, like, I'm 18 and I still feel like a child in age. So I'm just like, how can you tell us anything when you don't even have yourself together? I'm just looking at it like that. And, that arrogance made me unteachable. I was living in a homeless shelter, but pride still sat high on the throne of my heart. So meanwhile, drugs were still pulling me. At first, I thought I'll stop smoking weed because, I felt the conviction. But loneliness crept in again, and the friends I made dragged me right back into it. I was vaping, smoking heavier than ever. Some nights I went to dangerous neighborhoods with strangers, picking up weed in the same drug corners I first walked through in March. Like the same neighborhood I told you. I didn't know I ended up there. I didn't know it was the third ward. Yeah, that place became my spot when it came to drugs. And when weed wasn't enough, I slid right back into cocaine. Rebellion, it just rose higher than restraint. It's like I had a moment of sobriety, but then it's like the craving, the spirit of addiction in me, I wasn't feeding the spirit of addiction, so it was growing hungry. And so with the rebellion, with the craving, everything just grew higher and higher. Spiritual warfare, it got higher, it got heavier. The spiritual warfare got heavier. So basically, the shelter, people were using me. Like, my car became everybody's taxi. My energy became everybody's source. I even let a guy who got kicked out of the shelter sleep in my back seat while I worked, or I slept inside. I drove him wherever he needed, and that's how deep the savior complex had me. Like, I really thought I was helping, but I was really enabling. Draining myself dry, playing God in people's lives when I couldn't even save myself. My roommate was no different. At first, I thought, like, maybe she could be my friend. Maybe she's, like, real. But no, it became really clear she only wanted what I had. Rights, access, benefits. The moment I started saying no in my heart, I realized she felt entitled to me. But I didn't speak up. I swallowed my boundaries, and I wore myself thin. And like, spiritually, I was just as messy. Like, I downloaded the Bible app, okay? Like, after the whole scenario with the dude and the restraining order and all that, it was just like I needed to breathe. I knew exactly who to go to, and it was God. It wasn't all this other stuff. It's like I said, I took the first step of trying to like download the Bible app, and I scrolled through verses. But at the same time, I was still checking the horoscopes, and the astrology apps. I wanted light, but I kept running back to darkness. Like that pool is nothing to play with. Like, once you're not feeding those spirits, they get really, really hungry. And like I was telling you, the guy outside the park with the table and cards, he tried pulling me into deeper witchcraft. Even told me I should try E5. But I for some reason, even though I wasn't even in the walk with Christ, I was just like, no, I feel like I should just stick with where I'm headed into. And that was with God. I refused, not because I was boldly declaring Jesus. At the same time, I didn't even say his name. I just told him, like, no, I just want to stick with God. It was shaky faith, half-hearted, but it was still a spark. A seed God would later water. Okay? And so what I learned from June 2025 is, just based off what I've seen with the dude at the table, with the relationship that God took me out of and saved me from, witchcraft is real. It's so real. And Ephesians 6:12 says, basically, when it shows up as your doorstep, it means the door has opened. And with all that I was doing, with the people pleasing, that's basically, and it is, idolatry. And Proverbs 29 verses 25 says, the fear of man lays a snare. I was trapped because I feared rejection more than I feared God. And, with the pride and the arrogance, it blinded me. In James chapter 4, verse 6, it says that God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. My pride made me unteachable and very burnable. Very burnable. And like, addiction numbs, but it never heals. Sin offers escape, but you leave emptier every time. Like, every session I had with smoking with the friends, every drive I took to go get the cocaine, after the high went away, after that false sense of peace and comfort went away, I just dropped lower than I was when before I even started doing the drugs that day. Every time. So, yeah. It's not good. Having an addiction is not good. It's actually pretty draining. It drains you every time, and it drains you dry to the point of death. And not the death of dying to yourself, just the death where the devil wants you. And also learn during that time that boundaries are biblical. You can say no to people. You can literally tell people no. And at that point, I did not know that. I did not know you can say no to people and not feel nothing about it. Because you really have to just set your boundaries that the Lord wants you to set when it comes to people. And I also didn't have discernment at the time either. So the gift of discernment is very, very important to understand when people are using you, and when people are not genuine, and when people just are trying to be in some type of connection, not relationship. Because a relationship is genuine, it's unconditional, it's support. But when a person just want to have a connection with you just to have what you have, I didn't have the discernment to even realize that. And back to the boundaries, that the restraining order wasn't just legal protection, it was spiritual. And sometimes God uses earthly boundaries to expose spiritual ones. So I didn't get that restraining order out of fear. I got it because I really wanted to set a boundary. Now, I don't know if I had the fear of the Lord or of fear. I had fear at the time, but when I got the restraining order, I honestly just was sick and tired of the harassment, sick and tired of even giving him any type of access, because I'm telling you, he was not giving up. So I had to go through the restraining order. No matter how hard the process was, how long the process was, I went through it and God granted it for me. So, yeah, like I said, sometimes God uses earthly boundaries to expose spiritual ones. So, God's protection doesn't wait for your perfection. You know, he was guarding me even while I rebelled, even while I bounced between Bible verses and horoscopes. The restraining order being served created the pause the enemy didn't expect. A pause where God could start working. That space was mercy. You know, because when I was telling him I was going to get the restraining order, he was mocking me, making fun of me, telling me, oh, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. But when you blindside the blinding, like whatever's blinding you, when you blindside that, is a good pause, because that's where God can kind of start working. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm probably going to take that out. So, he let me feel the weight of false relationships so I'll stop carrying what wasn't mine. He let me get used. He let me get used, drained, and embarrassed so I can finally see that I'm not the savior. I'm not my own savior. Only Jesus saves. So yeah. June was pretty messy, you know. It stopped the immediate danger, but it didn't end the war. The harassment was gone, but the addictions, the pride, and the mixture, all of it still clung to me. I thought I could smoke it away, people please it away, or hide it under a job title, but deep down I knew I was on the edge of collapse. And July was coming to pause me. July was coming to expose me.